everybody, it's January 1st, and that means it's time for my December recap video. It's a beautiful day. It's incredibly mild for being the middle of winter, and it's a little cloudy, but I think my solar is gonna struggle through, so I'm not too worried. But yeah, it's a really nice day, and I'm excited for a new year. And before I get started, I just wanted to say Happy New Year to everybody out there who watches my channel. It's been about a year and a half since I started, and it's been a really fun ride. And it's really nice to see people enjoying my content, and I really love comments and chatting to people in the comments, and it's just been a lot of fun. So thanks everybody out there who supports my channel and watches my channel. And if you really like my stuff, I've got a PayPal link down in the description below, and there's also a super thanks button there if anyone wants to contribute a little extra to my project, or just watch the videos, leave me a comment, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and all of that stuff really helps. So let's get into December. It was a super busy month for me. I felt like I was working all the time. I was really trying to push forward on my feature wall project, and it took a lot of work, and I was determined to get it done because I really wanted to be sitting in a nice little part of my house that wasn't dusty and horrible by the end of this project, by the end of the year. And I accomplished my mission, and it was a really fun project to work on. So the feature wall was basically the gable end of my house. I had to chip out all the clay in between the rocks for the section that I was hoping to make the feature wall. That took ages. It was super dusty. It wasn't massively enjoyable, although it is quite meditative. You can just kind of put on a podcast or an audiobook or music and just sort of get into it, but it does take a while, and anything that's dusty inside the house, not the most enjoyable tasks. Then I basically just washed the rocks. I didn't film that. Washing rocks, not the most exciting thing in the world, but that actually took quite a bit of effort as well, scrubbing the rocks and cleaning up all the water that pooled at the bottom of the wall. Then another kind of not very exciting task to do, either for me to do it or to watch it, is repacking the wall with lime. I did some of that in November and filmed some of it, but for the most part, the work that I did in December repacking the wall, I just went for it. And that basically involves pushing the lime deep into the holes where I took the clay out, and then repacking it with small stones and sometimes with larger stones that will be the face of the wall. So it's at this stage that you really kind of make the wall how it's going to look. You choose the stones, and it's probably the most time-consuming part of the entire operation. Made a clay wall. The idea of the feature wall was to have clay bits on either side that sort of framed the pointed rocks in between. And I spent a lot of time trying to figure out the design that I wanted, which path the clay would follow along the rocks, and then actually mixing up the cob and putting it on the wall. That was a lot of work as well. But unlike working with dusty things and working with cement, cob is one of my favorite materials to work with, and I really enjoyed the sculptural aspect of it and choosing the path and just kind of making a final decision on what I wanted. I often delay these decisions, especially if there's something creative, because I have a hard time making a final choice of what I want, but it's nice to have just decided and got it done, and I feel really good about that. One of the artistic things that I was thinking of doing was putting shelves in multiple places inside the clay wall, sort of embedded. In the end, I just decided to do one tiny shelf behind the wood stove where I can maybe put a candle or something like that, and I left the other shelves for now. I felt like the wall will work without them, and if I decide to put those shelves in later on, I can, or I could even put some kind of a hanging unit on the wall or a freestanding shelving unit in that corner in the future. So I prioritized just getting this done over faffing around with all these little creative bits that would have taken me forever. Put in a conduit, not the most exciting thing in the world, but I thought ahead and I decided where I wanted the wires to potentially go in the wall, and I ran some plastic tubing conduit for the electrical wires. I put 2 in there. I forgot the second one at first, but I got 2 in there, and they're still open up at the top and the bottom, so when the time comes to wire stuff up, I can send things over the ceiling, down the wall, and through the bottom to put some power sockets on that wall behind. Grinded the stone. This was the worst. Grinding stone is awful, even if it's outside. I really don't like it. But when you take the operation indoors, it's so dusty, and my place just became completely covered in dust. But grinding the stone is sort of this extra little step that allowed me to get the rocks the way I wanted them so that they'd be nice and easy to point and look good when the pointing stage came. So doing the grinding was fairly important, and I'm happy I did it. I did not enjoy it while I was doing it, but I'm happy it's done, and I think the wall looks a lot better for taking that extra step and doing the grinding. Pointed the rocks. As with working with cob, I also love working with lime in general, but especially pointing. And I was a bit discouraged when I started the pointing because I haven't done it in about 6 months, and my technique was not coming through for me. I just was struggling, and what I ended up with wasn't really what I was expecting. But as I did more pointing, I got better and I became less discouraged, and that's when the process really becomes a lot of fun for me. I really like pointing. It's super relaxing, and yeah, it was really, really enjoyable to finally see the wall come together. The pointing is what tied it all in. It's what makes the rocks pop out, and I think the feature wall looks really cool. I didn't completely finish it because I still have to render the clay with either an earthen plaster or a lime finished plaster. So that's a job for another day, and I'll probably end up doing all of the final renders of my place at the same time when all of the walls are ready for it. Time with friends. December is a busy month for social stuff. I went for an amazing dinner at a new restaurant with some friends. It was great food, and I can't wait to go back. I'll put the link down below for anyone that lives in the area. And I also went to a few social things, some bar things, some parties, some dinner parties, and it's just been a really busy month with friends, which was complicated by the fact that I got sick. So somewhere in early December, I got pretty sick, and I attempted to get rid of it with orange juice and lemon ginger tea and all sorts, but it kind of hung around. So I got over the worst of it in a couple days, but it seems like it was still with me, kind of in my sinuses for about 3 weeks of December. So I wasn't super sick the whole time, but I was a little under the weather for much of the month, and it made doing all this work a little tricky. Maybe I should have rested a bit more, but I pushed through it, and even though I seem kind of blocked up at the moment, I'm not. I feel fine now, and yeah, I got over the sickness, so it was frustrating, but it happens, and you just have to push on and make do. Collected more clay. This was a small job, but kind of a laborious one. I went to my friend's place. They've had their driveway dug out, and they have all kinds of beautiful clay laying around, and it's only a 5-minute drive away, which is amazing. And they've been very generous with me, and I've been allowed to go take the clay, put it in the car tractor, bring it back in buckets, and then I have to decant from the car tractor into other buckets, and they're in the polytunnel now. So I have a decent supply of clay ready for some more jobs inside the house. Collected pine needles. Pine needles are the key for me making a decent fire. I basically start the fire with the pine needles, plop a pine cone on top, get a bunch of fig branches on there, and that gets me a fire started every single time. So the pine needles are the key, and I went to my friend's pine forest and just scrounged around for a bunch of pine needles. I love being in her forest. It's really beautiful, and I came back and I've got enough to keep me stocked probably for about a month. I went back before it rained and I got some more, so yeah, I'm well stocked and I feel really good about that. Trimmed olive branches. We picked olives in November, mid-November maybe, and when we pick, we often chop off the branches at the same time and just lay them on the ground and get the olives off while they're on the ground. We also do some pruning at the same time, and that meant that I had loads of olive branches just laying around all over the place, and in order for me to cut the grass, I had to get rid of them. And rather than burn them, which is what everyone does here, or most people, I have these wonderful clippers, and I just chop them up into small pieces, and I use them as mulch around my trees, which is the next step. So I don't have a lot of organic material on my land, and so I prefer to use what I can. So if I trim the grass, I just leave it there. If I do any pruning, I try to cut it up small and use it as mulch around the trees. So I ended up using the small olive pieces to mulch around the trees, but I also put compost down, and I also watered them with comfrey water. So I gave my trees a little bit of attention after they were neglected for a while. And I also ended up getting a bunch of firewood from the olive trimmings for next year. So that'll have to season for a year, and then I can use that as kind of my kindling stage, which is really, really good. So with the olive branches cleared, I was able to cut the grass using the strimmer. It's one of my favorite jobs. It's a great tool. It's an electric strimmer. It's not noisy. You don't have to worry about refueling it all the time, and it's just a really, really enjoyable thing to do. So with all of the sticks and olive branches collected and out of the way, I was able to just plow through my third terrace and get that done. And I still have to do the bottom terrace. I still have a bit more olive stuff to do, and then I'll be able to get to that hopefully in January. But the grass was getting a little bit unruly, and it's nice to just have it all under control. Collected firewood. You'll see this in a future video, probably my next video. Yesterday I went with my friend and we took her van and she helped me collect firewood, and it was really great because otherwise I would have had to do probably 2 more trips in my car and that would have sucked. But you'll see more of that in the next video. Set up the cozy corner. I wanted to make a spot in my house where I could sit and not feel like it's a building site, and that was just this one corner at the bottom of the feature wall. So finishing the feature wall was key, and just putting a little weird chair that I had up in my mezzanine down there for a place to sit was my one goal for finishing out December, and I got it done. Fortunately or unfortunately, the cats really love it, and I don't really get to sit in that chair, but at least it's another little cozy spot for those guys. And finally, I finished out the year by making a wobbly Christmas tree by accident. My mom had sent over some ornaments for Christmas, and she was very eager for me to put up a tree. And so I decided to try to be a bit more creative than just going and getting a tree or cutting down part of a pine tree or something. And I decided to try to make something out of olive branches. So I didn't really have a full concept in mind, but as it turned out, making a stick and strapping a bunch of olive branches onto it and then trimming them into a tree-like shape worked out. Unfortunately, the bottom was wonky and is now wobbly, but a lot of people said in the comments, I guess I have a rockin' around the Christmas tree type tree, and I'm okay with that. It stays standing and it's got character. So maybe I'll repair the bottom one day by putting like some kind of stoppers. There's been lots of good suggestions in the comments. Or maybe I'll just leave it as a rockin', rollin' Christmas tree for the foreseeable future, and it can be a conversation piece. So that was my December. I had a great month. Like I said, I was sick for some of it, but it was really fun. I saw lots of friends, and I got lots of stuff done. We had loads of sunshine in December, and I spent most of it inside working on this wall. But towards the end of the month, I got to spend a lot of time outside, and that was really fun. It's awesome to live in Portugal where the sun shines even in the winter, and you get the rainy days, you get this gloomy weather, but you also get lots of sunny days where you can really come out in a shorts and a t-shirt, and it's another reminder of why I love living here. It's really fantastic. So that's December, on to January. Let me go show you what I have in mind for the shower and the tool shed foundation. And I know I've been promising this tool shed for a long time, but this will be the month where I push forward, at least on the foundation, which is going to be the hardest part. So let's take a walk and I'll show you what I have in mind for these two things. Won't you come with me into the shower? So this has been a work in progress for a very long time. Actually, before I get into the work, a lot of people have asked me how I shower. So I've got this little guy. I think it was about 30 euros, and it's got the pipe, which goes to a pump, which gets dropped into that giant pot, and then you've got the control over here that stays sort of out of the wet area. The pot I fill from my water source outside, and I fill it about halfway, get it really, really hot on the stove, and then I top it up with cold water in the shower so I don't have to carry this massive heavy pot while it's really hot. So I get a nice, sometimes I get a nice warm shower, sometimes I get a lukewarm shower, sometimes the shower's too hot. It's kind of hard to gauge, but it's a really, really great system. It's basically just like having a regular shower, except obviously I'm limited by the quantity of water that's in the pot, but it's plenty. So, work on the shower will consist of finishing off this shelf, finishing off the lime going up here and around the corner, and then into all the bottles. So I'll finish the bottle wall on this side, creating kind of a flat face that goes up to the shelf. The shelf will be removable, and I'm hoping to have some kind of lights inside these bottles that can be turned on and off, so that'll be hopefully an interesting feature. I'm also going to take out the drain that's under that pot. It's small, it's crappy, and I have another better drain here, which I'll show you when I start the work. The scariest part is probably doing the drain because I don't really know how to connect the pipes now that they're already buried in the concrete. It might take some ingenuity, we'll see. And then these are the tiles and the tile stuff that I've had sitting here for a very, very long time. And I'm hoping to tile the bottom of the shower. But to do that, I first have to do some grinding because I changed my mind. I was initially gonna have the rocks exposed, but a bunch of people pointed out that it would look unfinished, and I agree. So I'm gonna try to grind that as flat as possible, and I need to grind this down a little bit more for reasons that I'll explain once I actually start the work. But that's gonna be really, really annoying, and I'm not looking forward to it, but I am looking forward to pushing forward on this top part and to just, yeah, moving forward on the shower. And then eventually I'll also need to do a couple more layers of the lime, and I'll finish the whole thing off with a technique called Tadillac, which I don't actually know how to do, but I'll learn. And then out here I have the project that most people ask me about, and I have the fewest answers for. Kind of embarrassingly, the megastone is still where we left it many months ago, and even more embarrassingly, my rubble trench foundation that I made for the tool shed has become overgrown. It's very unruly, it's weird, but I'm actually going to go bigger on the foundation. I feel like I want the shed to come out a bit more this way and a little bit more that way. So I've got a lot of work still to do on this, and it's going to be a big job. I'm going to be making the foundation out of stones, and it's going to involve lots of moving of stones, lots of chopping of stones using some interesting tools, and I'll also try to make a wall. So this is going to be a huge job. I could have made the foundation just with concrete blocks or with earth bags if I wanted to be a little bit more natural with it, but I like to make my life difficult, and I love working with stones. I don't love grinding them, but I love all the other stuff with stones, and I love how it looks. So this is going to be a massive project, and I'm excited to get started on this in January. I just noticed that this cat, it's run away now. Yeah, there it is. Orange cat number 2. This cat just ran out of my house. So this is not great. This is bad news. My cats are not defending their territory, and this guy is getting cheeky. So, oh, I really, I really can't have another cat. I'm not ready to go full cat lady mode just yet, so I'll need to be a bit more vigilant about not leaving my door open, and yeah, give Mikey and Larry a talking to about defending the castle. It's nice that my cats are friendly, but I cannot have another cat, so hopefully they start chasing him away or her away. So that's it for my recap. It's been a wonderful month. I'm really excited for January. It's been a really great year, and I feel like I've accomplished a lot. I've grown the channel. I'm still trying to push towards that 10,000 subscribers and not quite getting over the hump, but one day it'll come. And if you haven't subscribed already and want to push me more towards that, please do subscribe. If you like the stuff I put out, please do like the video. And I guess that's a wrap on December. That's a wrap on 2023. And I look really forward to seeing what 2024 holds. Lots of exciting projects in mind, and I look forward to sharing all of that stuff with you guys. So, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.